The real reason why Cody Rhodes is leaving AEW for WWE, we're going to talk about it all in today's video. I'm going to have all the timestamps in the description down below. There is a lot of stories, a lot of news that you may have missed, and we're going to talk about it all in this video. So if you guys could watch it in its entirety, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is not me hating AEW. This is me not praising AEW. This is me bringing you the information, and then I will give you my opinion on it. First things first, my friends, there was a falling out with Tony Khan. TMZ Sports had reported that sources have indicated to them that recently there was another falling out between Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan, and this played a major part in Cody and Brandi leaving AEW. Now, the reason why I want to start off with this, first and foremost, for the last 2.5 years, we have been talking about backstage issues between Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, and Tony Khan. And this was incredibly important for me to mention right off the rip because, honest to God, when I look at AEW, and I have said this from the beginning, and I hate that I'm right here, but I have said that you have all of this talent, all of these people with their hands in the kitchen, with the hands in the pot. Everybody's trying to cook up this recipe, and everybody's recipe is different. And I don't believe that works. I don't believe that works in wrestling. I don't believe it works in any other business. And we have talked about the reports that have come out through the last few years of people bumping heads, having issues, and whatnot. And of course, I laughed about this information because the Young Bucks were playing into it with social media and their bio and all of this stuff. Well, TMZ is reporting that this played a major role. Sources indicate to them that there was a fallout between Cody and Tony recently as Khan's visibility within the company grew. Now, later in this video, I'm going to explain to you guys what changed for AEW because I have been witnessing this since day one of covering the company, and I'm noticing this change. You guys are noticing this change, and it is important to discuss. But one of the biggest things that a lot of people aren't talking about is the EVP contracts, okay? Now, as you know, I have referenced stories in the past from Slice Wrestling, and some people tend to say that Slice Wrestling isn't the most reliable source. However, the last several stories we have discussed have been 100% accurate, and I feel very comfortable with some of the stuff that is being said here. So basically, what is being said here is that Cody Rhodes has been negotiating a new deal with Tony Khan for the past few months, and the EVP contracts that Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes all signed when they helped form AEW are no longer being offered by Tony Khan. This means that Tony Khan is no longer extending their EVP contracts. And this is one of the big beliefs, one of the reasons why Cody Rhodes was not going to stay with AEW. Now, keep in mind, for those who are unaware, you can't rewrite history here. Cody, the Young Bucks, Kenny, they were all in a hotel. They were the ones who started this idea with Tony Khan, okay? They formed this idea. Cody Rhodes has been a massively big, important asset to AEW's formation, their community outreach, media, mainstream attention. Look at Cody Rhodes on these shows for TBS. Cody Rhodes was very instrumental in all of that. This became a huge issue internally at AEW and was something Cody Rhodes very much wanted to remain his title. Tony Khan instead was offering performance bonuses and other compensation that Cody Rhodes was just not interested in. By the way, I'm going to compare this to the real life examples that I always try to use because I worked for a big company for several years. I know what that feels like. They're not going to give you a title, but hey, we'll give you something else to make up for it. And that's bullshit in my opinion. So I'm just going to simply add to this little conversation here. I agree with that. It doesn't matter about performance bonuses or other compensation. I feel like I'm contributing X amount. I feel like I'm doing this much for your company, and this is what I want. And here's the thing. Cody and AEW were not willing to come to agreement. Why? Because Cody Rhodes and Kenny and the Bucks are losing that power to be EVPs. Now, we actually talked about this. Early 2019, these guys lost their creative freedom to plan out the shows. Instead, Tony Khan took full control of creative. And again, this was something we talked about as issues backstage. Very crazy how all these years things are starting to come out now. And at the end of the day, as a fan, you could be bothered by it or not. It's really up to you. But ultimately, we knew something like this was going to happen. It's been in front of our eyes for a very long time. But guys, that's not the only issue. Losing the EVP contracts aren't the only big deal because there is some talk about AEW budgets. And this is where I think things get even crazier. So there was an update provided by Dave Meltzer, and he noted that on the Wrestling Observer Radio, that AEW does in fact have a budget when it comes to talent. Two unnamed wrestlers had attempted to get an offer from the company. However, they were not given huge deals. If Tony Khan is able to get a big television deal at the start of 2024, then they will have an increase in cash that will likely be spent on signing new talent. And now everybody who says I'm an AEW hater because I complain about how they're signing too many people, I have to defend myself here. You bring in excuse me, hold on. Let's backtrack. You bring in Mercedes Martinez, you bring in Keith Lee, you bring in Tony Nese, you bring in Bryan Danielson and CM Punk and Kyle Fish and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. You're bringing in all these people, and that's fantastic. You have a budget. Hopefully it's working within your budget. But clearly, you have an issue where you're spending money on talent and then you have talent not being used. Okay, no problem. Because of this budget that you have, you're no longer going to provide a job for some of the people that you originally signed. Okay, not a big deal. I don't blame you because at the end of the day, you're a business and that's what you have to do. But also at the same time, there is tons of rumors of AEW wanting to bring in Jeff Hardy and other talent, right? Well, at the end of the day, if I'm Cody Rhodes and I'm looking at what AEW was and what it's become, it is completely different. And guys, I'm not saying AEW is bad. I'm not saying their product got worse. What I'm telling you is it is different. The vision that AEW is today, February 15th, 2022, is completely different from what it was in 2019. And I think if you're Cody Rhodes and you see this vision completely changing and you're losing your EVP title, what more can you do? What more can you do? There is a lot of reasons to be angry. But now, guys, we get this talk about Cody Rhodes joining WWE. Now, what would be the reason for Cody Rhodes to join WWE? That's the real question. What would be the reason for Cody to join WWE? Well, one of the things I'm predicting, and this is something that's coming from my own prediction, I believe that Cody joining WWE would simply be not only as a wrestler, but I think he will hold some sort of office position, whether it is for the main roster, for the company in general, or perhaps NXT. In fact, I think because of Triple H and everything that's happened with his cardiac event, I do see a very, very big opportunity for WWE to bring in Cody Rhodes in some capacity, whether it is in 2022 or 2023. I think Cody Rhodes going to WWE with some sort of game plan to run NXT would make a lot of sense. And also, by the way, I think it's okay 100% if you were to do that. Dusty Rhodes was a very big reason as to why NXT became something special and why this talent has blossomed in the real world. And I think Cody Rhodes should have some sort of ties with it. Now, I understand there's a lot of people who think Cody is a hypocrite, but I have said this long ago. I said AEW talking shit to the WWE knows that it gets you riled up and knows it gets you excited, so they do it. And he's not a hypocrite. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for business, for your family and whatnot. You're losing your title. The vision is changing. You're having a fallout with the CEO. At the end of the day, this is one of those stories that need to be talked about. And again, I'm not saying that AEW's product sucks. I'm not saying that AEW is struggling. I'm not saying anything like that. What I am saying is backed by these reports that there are issues in this company. And to sit there and acknowledge that it's not happening, or to say it's not possible, or it's not real, or it's not true, or, AEW is perfect, this company will not get better. I promise you, no person gets better if they don't hear criticism or feedback. And that's not just the AEW. That's every person, every company. That's how it goes. And honestly, what we're seeing right now, I'm not saying it's the end of AEW, but we're seeing a transition period. And I hope that, Tony Khan knows what he's doing because he has a great product. He has a great roster, and I hope things work out for him. But Cody going to WWE is massive. And by the way, one last thing I want to say. You got Jade Cargill. You got MJF. You got Wardlow. If things get worse in AEW, when these contracts end, that door to WWE could very well be open. Just letting you know. I want to know what you guys think in today's video. This is the most insane thing I've ever seen. I hope things work out. I hope things get better. My prediction is that Cody Rhodes will debut to end WrestleMania. I think he's going to hit a crossroads on Roman Reigns after he wins, and that would be some amazing, amazing stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.